I got Dan Wimber here with Ginger and Other Creations. A little slice of art history for you here. We're going to play with the Zorn palette, whether it's recommended or not for paint pouring. Let's go paint! A dangerous thing about learning new things is that you feel compelled to play around with those new things. I learned about the Zorn palette just about a half a week ago, and I decided I was going to use it to do an abstract acrylic pour. That's not what it was made for. I'm pretty sure it was made for portraiture, but it's still kind of cool, and I want to see what happens. If you don't know what a Zorn palette is or whatnot, you can geek out on color with me at the end of the video. I have moved the color breakdown and cup layering thing to the end. Okay, let's get this pouring going. Yay, 12 by 24 cradled board, black gesso, and two 5.5 ounce cups filled to the brim with our Zorn palette colors. I am going to change my order because I would like vermillion to come down here. I have a favorite, clearly. And we will have the yellow ochre hanging out down at the bottom. We get kind of close. I'm gonna do the wiggle wiggle. Okay, come back and finish up the cup up here. Waggle, waggle. It's about that one. Now we're gonna come out this. Cup number 2, wiggle wiggle. Kind of a bit of a straight pour flop cup hybrid thingamajigger. That ochre is doing some crazy stuff in there. I like it already. Way to go, Arteza. I don't know why I keep going up at the end of my sentences. Maybe I'm excited. Get to the end. This. Does not feel like enough paint. I am trying to let as little paint as possible, as physically possible, come off of the board here. That is why I have my lovely little ruler playing corner catcher here. Trying to watch all the edges so that I kind of move coverage around, but don't let anything come off too much. Boom. Back to the center. Pull it away from the edge a little bit. So like I say, I'm trying to preserve that paint. Wipe the paint away from our ruler. Come down here and try to do the same this. Try to use the fact that I have fairly big hands to my advantage. Just gonna let the paint sort of spread to the sides. To that corner and right on back. To that corner, middle. Push back this way. And push back quite a bit because I love what that yellow ochre is doing. It's got a ways to go. And there we are. Way the paint's around the center of the project now. We can use all the paint we can get on the surface, yes? Yes. And I am going to pop my corner catcher paint aid here because the most paint is down on the yellow ochre area. So I will be able to stretch the vermilion farther if I prevent the ochre from escaping before the rest of it gets to the edge. And some of it is already escaping. Back. Such an awkward angle. Try it again over here. There we are, catching that middle bit. And almost over the edge in most places. Back we go. Little bit, little bit. Hold that off. I got, use a little bit of assistance right there. Right there. And right there. right up along here. I probably should push it further up this way because there's just like gray up there. I see that lacing and I don't want to lose that lacing. I have a ton of paint stuck right here, and I have fantastic things happening here and fantastic things happening there. And something's gonna have to go. Pulling this way. Be decisive. Just waiting for it to go. There's this little bitty bit of an edge that it hasn't covered over. And there it goes. All right, we are covered everywhere except for just the edge of this corner, which I'll just come in with Nature's paintbrush. Give it a little pat there. This one hasn't even gone over the corner. It blends in quite nicely. You just basically need to pick it up and let whatever is willing to run over that other edge go that way. Now let me fold it down. That is fully off. This is not quite. And let it run down this way. So I am kind of surprised at how much I like this so far. It does have a couple of little lumps going on. I think there may be a bit of a defect in the board itself, because that one that I tried to pull out earlier that looked like a thread felt like it was attached. So that's not great, but there is a lot of cool stuff going on. I think the darker ogres are the part that kind of puts me off, because that's the section up here. I feel like there's not as much going on up here with and those are the darker ochres, because that's the way I poured it. But, you know, I love the vermilion itself, and I really love what the full-on yellow ochre and the mixed vermilions are doing down here, because there's so much going on. Plus the lovely lacing, but we've got some, like, I don't know, stone-looking fissures and lots of reactions all up in here that I think are fantastic. We may have some lumps. I am finally going to get a Floetrol straining cap. Just tired of the nonsense that is Floetrol. Let's just put it that way. But we have seen stay tuned for the result. Is the Zorn palette a viable choice for acrylic paint pouring? I think so. Let's go in for a close-up. So this, because I wouldn't know what to call it otherwise, is just called Zorn. There is so much going on. Little jiggly, wandering straight pour. Turned out fantastic. Makes my brain geeky happy. I do have a question for y'all. Now if I can get it to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, you see down in that bottom corner there is a defect in the wood that just sort of happened. So let's have a little chat here. I'll have you stare at it while I chit-chat with you, shall I? And now you can't unsee it. Anyway, when those defects crop up, a lot of that is stuff that I can't control. I occasionally kick around the idea of selling a painting or two. I mean, I have sold paintings because I work with people that are saying, take my money. But, and I don't say no to that. But, you know, in terms of just putting it out there on offer or whatever, do you think that it detracts from whatnot because the wood reacts in the way that it wants to and willfully will? Or do you think that just becomes part of the art? Let me know. Sound off in the comments. Geek out with me about color after the fade. If not, thanks for watching this far, and comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you next Sunday. Bye-bye. So, if you've decided to join me for the color portion, hi, thanks for sticking around. You may or may not know that the Zorn palette is basically vermilion, yellow ochre, black and white. Why I have chosen to do this as an abstract pour, I do not know. I believe that it is a lapse in logic, but gotta have fun sometimes, right? So, creative inspirations: vermilion, Arteza, yellow ochre, also Artist Loft yellow ochre, because I only had a tiny tube of the Arteza, and this took a lot. I added varying amounts of white and varying amounts of black to those base colors, and I ended up with, you know, these lighter versions, and this weird green and reddish browns and almost black, pretty much quite black, just a tainted black, I guess you call it. Sort of a medium gray, a light gray, and the regular black and white, Montmartre black and white, And Amsterdam, black and white, for lacing effects. Now, I know that I am too heavy-handed when it comes to the making a cup, so I use our little dessert spoon, this ridiculously long spoon, to try to, well, actually, I am going to pour straight in because the first cup, a lot of it stays, and I'd actually like it to show up. One good pour of our artisan ketchup and mustard. Should leave the lids off, because who knows what I'm actually doing. I'm gonna cross here. This scary, I might even say ugly green. Two little drizzles of that. It's almost an olive green, and you all know how I love olive green. The thicknesses of my paint are very different. I almost like that color. This brick red thing. Let's kind of do the same thing. Just make a mess everywhere, shall we? Those scraps. And this, I would argue, is really too thick. And normally, I would pour half into another cup. And, because I mean, this is chocolate pudding thick. It's way thick. Normally, I would pour something like this into another cup and just pour more pouring medium onto it, flow trough for me. But I do not want to prolong these colors any longer than I have to. That feels like it would be compounding a felony. So what I will do, I'm going to take a little bit of my M1 latex paint additive. This stuff is quite like water, but it still has binders and whatnot to make the paint behave. I could just put water into this quite easily, but the paint additive has stuff. It is very liquidy, just like water, but it has stuff that doesn't degrade the paint as easily. And I don't know what that stuff is. Don't ask me. I ain't a chemist. And it still is quite thick, but it is thinner than it was. Actually, I'm going to do another glug. Don't put it away until you're sure you're done glugging. Little glug. Right there. And there we are. We have thinned it right before your eyes. And I'm going to use it here. It is still the thickest chocolate pudding at the party, but we make it work. Other paint pourers will stress that you need to make the little cards and see how things run and make sure they're the same liquidiness, density, velocity, something, viscosity, velocity. You have to make sure they're all the same and uniform, and you know what I say? I say screw that. That ain't happening. Either it works or it don't. The yellow ochre version isn't quite as thick. It is still thick, but it's not as thick as it started out as because I learned making that one. I learned making the vermilion. Like, that's too thick. And you don't need that much black. I'll do that same thing here. I'm going to use the middle the middle yellow ochre on the yellow ochre cup and on the vermilion cup because the mood struck me. The middle ochre, 1, 2, middle vermilion, put our dark gray in both. Dos cups. Didn't bother making much dark gray, did I? Go with the lightest vermilion. In both for some reason. The lightest of the ogres looks like cream or butter. It's a nice color. I'm making a mess of my lids. Our middle ochre. Our light gray. Balled up. I don't have to be heavy-handed with it. I just tend to be. But when they're this full, it reminds me, don't put it on so thick. Now, we go with our high up, dirty pour, Amsterdam titanium white. Way high up there so it sinks down in. Anxiety black, because we want as many of those pretty effects as we can get. Just like that. Our cup runneth over. Okay, now there we are for our Geeking Out on Colors section. If you hung out this long, thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you next Sunday. Bye-bye.